We're joined by the new, I guess no longer new, Texas State head coach, Kinne. Coach, you finally settled in. You finally settled down. You've been on the road a ton. Signing day just passed. Where are you calling from?
I'm at my office. Watched the little workouts this morning, getting installs ready, and excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, is it been kind of a nice week after, or a couple weeks after signing day to kind of finally get your bearings, kind of be in one place for a little bit, as opposed to, I saw you guys in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, everywhere, kind of trying to lock up all those guys for the signing class.
Yeah, for sure. We got me and my wife and little boys. We got moved in to our new spot in San Marcos, and so we've been kind of juggling that and getting the rest of the coaches moved. And about every other day, I have a coach say, "Hey, coach, I'm gonna be a little late here. I got moving today."
Yeah.
So just kind of going through all that stuff, and really right now for me is watching these guys on our current roster, watching these guys work out and kind of just getting to know them and building those relationships with them.
Yeah, I guess it's before spring camp. So what is kind of the MO for this time period between signing day and camp? What is it? What's kind of your priority as you kind of prepare for that?
Yeah, right now for me, it's getting together on offense and defense, doing self-scout, putting together installs, watching our guys. Right now they can just run and lift. We're not meeting with them or anything like that. So just watching them lift and run and going, and they eat breakfast and dinner up here. So sitting in there with them and just really getting to know them and, talking to them about their family and what high school they went to and just all those kind of little small conversations that, make a difference.
Coach, I got a question for you. You've lived in a bunch of different places, whether it being a student, you went to a couple schools, and then as a professional, you played at a couple different places, and as a coach, you've been at a few stops as well already. Do you kind of have a favorite place you've lived so far? You're not allowed to say San Marcos yet. You hadn't been there long enough. But where was kind of your favorite place to kind of just live, hang out, that kind of deal?
That one's probably easy if you looked at where I've lived. I mean, Hawaii is hard to beat. You're talking about the beaches and the people and the food. I mean, it's hard to beat, to go out to some of the best beaches in the world just every day and hang out and take your kids and barbecue and just hang out and watch the waves. I mean, Hawaii's hard to beat when it comes to that.
Is it hard to go to work there, though? Because, I feel like, the reason Alabama's so good at football is it's Tuscaloosa. There's nothing else to do but to, lift weights and be a football player. I'd imagine Hawaii, what's, the weirdest excuse you had from a player or, why they missed workouts?
Probably, not missing workouts, but getting hurt. I had a guy get hurt surfing, had a guy get hurt spear fishing, I think.
That's awesome.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's a little different, but
one more question on that, on Hawaii, because I guess it's a thing I didn't think about, because you mentioned when you got the Texas State job that you're a Texas guy, right? Because your name was connected elsewhere, things like that. But you mentioned being a Texas guy. What was that like, being so far away from the continental states as opposed to just not even just Texas?
Yeah, it was different for sure, but by that time, I'd lived in New Jersey. I'd lived in a couple different places, Canada, so it was one of those situations where I was kind of used to being away.
Sure.
It was, my first full-time position job, offensive coordinator job in FBS. So I was more focused on that and same type deal, just figuring out how to win some games and put up some points.
Yeah.
Did you become a fan of Spam?
No, I didn't eat the Spam. I couldn't eat the Spam. They go to 7-Eleven, and I forgot exactly what it was, Mishubi or something. I don't know exactly what it's called, but they go and eat that stuff, and I couldn't do it.
I've been there one time, and I remember pulling into a McDonald's drive-thru and it being Spam and egg cheese biscuit, and you're like, oh, no.
All the players used to make fun of me because I ate a lot of Chili's. There's a Chili's right by my house. I ate a ton of Chili's.
There's your own little taste. Your own little taste of the continent.
Exactly.
So I guess you're settling into San Marcos now. Do you guys got as far as the family goes? I know you got a family going on. Did you got a family spot, favorite family spot that you guys like to hit up right now, or?
Man, we're still trying to figure it out right
Yeah.
now, to be honest with you. We've gone to Wimberley a couple times
Sure.
and gone to that little area and ate a couple times. But that's about it so far. We literally just got moved in during the ice storm or
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
We moved during that time. So we haven't got to do a whole bunch besides recruit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Speaking of kids, you got some kids that are coaches' kids now. You were a coach's kid. How early on did you know this is what you were going to go into? And were you like drawing up plays and giving them to your dad and like suggesting stuff to him at an early age?
First, yeah, I knew I wanted to coach. You know, I think for me, like the building of teams was always something that I really enjoyed doing. You know, playing like all-star baseball, and you know, we you know, I think the winner of the league usually gets to do the all-star. So me and my dad would sit there and like, who we're going to put at second base, who's going to lead off, who's going to be the cleanup. You know, like we would literally sit there for hours and do that stuff. That's what I grew up doing, and so that part was always fun. My grandpa was my little league football coach, so we would do the same thing in football, and you know, usually put together a team and travel out of state and go play in the Turkey Bowl or whatever. So I enjoyed the building of a roster and you know, building of a staff. For me, I think those two things are really fun. Obviously, I coached. Like even when I was playing with the Eagles, I like volunteered and coached the 8th grade select football team in Mesquite. Like I just enjoyed the coaching part of it. And when I was in Philly and you know, and the Giants too, I think both coaches, you know, I would get cut, you know, a couple times. They'd end up bringing me back or whatever, and they'd always say, "Hey, when you're ready to get, you know, into coaching, let us know. Like you're going to be a great like one of the." So it just kept on like coming up in my life, and so I knew that's something I wanted to do when the time was right. And I went to Canada. I guess that was 2016. I did that season up there and got home off season, you know, started working out, throwing the ball around. And at the time, Chad Morris was the head coach at SMU, who was my OC at Tulsa in 2010. And I'm going, man, they had a GA position come up open. Like, do I want to go back to Canada and keep playing up there? Or, you know, is this the time to, you know, get into coaching? I have a little money saved up from playing. You know, I get to stay in Dallas. I don't have to move. And you know, so that's kind of how I got into the coaching. But, yeah, I knew I wanted to coach from a pretty early age.
What was getting cut like?
Man, to be honest with you, it's pretty heartbreaking because, you know, you put so much into it and, you know, especially for me, I knew it was a possibility, but, you know, when you're the 4th quarterback or 3rd quarterback on the roster, like that's what I tell these guys all the time. What'd you learn in the NFL is just kind of bringing it every day, and every day's a job interview. You know, you have one bad throw or one bad decision. It can really affect, you know, your whole dreams and career. So, you know, it's tough when you get cut because, you know, sometimes it's out of your control. You can be the better quarterback, but they drafted this guy in the 3rd or 4th round, and you know, they want to bring you back on practice squad or you know, something like that. That's what happened to me, you know, pretty much 3 years in a row. So, you know, it's tough, but at the same time, you know, I learned a lot from it, and I got cut a lot. So
you talked about moving to Canada and playing there for a little bit. Does it? I mean, from the outside, it feels like it would freak you out the first time you saw a wide receiver like illegally going in motion or something. You know, like how long did it take you to kind of get used to that game, or is it an easier transition than maybe it looks on TV?
I didn't really like it, to be perfectly honest with you. I felt like, you know, I was a dual threat guy, and my style of play is kind of what they want up there. It's just I just didn't necessarily enjoy. I feel like I had to relearn football almost. You know, like I spent my whole life learning this game. And when I got up there, like there's some things that obviously translate. It's still football, but the guy's going in motion. You got an extra defender on the field. You got, you know, an extra receiver. You got the field's wider. It's longer. There's different rules. You know, I just never felt like super comfortable with it. And you know, so that's ultimately kind of one of the reasons too. I was like, yeah, I'll do something else.
You know, for people who don't know, you played your senior year for a coach that's pretty familiar around this state at the high school and college level, and y'all are going to play each other in week 2. What was it like playing for Jeff Traylor, and why does he kind of have that personality or that demeanor that, you know, it seems like kids want to play for him, and he has success at all these different levels?
Yeah. I played for Jeff my senior year. We actually played him my junior season when I was still at Canton, and then I transferred to Gilmer, played for Jeff, and that was awesome. I mean, the program that he runs, the discipline, the way they work out, it was really cool to be a part of that, and the offense we were running back in high school, that was, when I got to University of Texas, it was almost like, man, I wish we were still running what we did in high school. So
Yeah.
we did some really good stuff. When Jeff was at Gilmer, obviously he won a bunch of state championships. My little brother played for him, won a state championship for him. So, but I think for him, very similar to my dad, like guys just play hard for him because they know, they love him. He loves them and has real relationships with his guys. So for me, he's a guy that I still talk to, probably once a week or if not more, and just a great person and great coach and really all of the above.
Yeah, I guess going on to Texas State now, one of the biggest things that when you were hired, and it was pretty obvious from what President Danfus and what Don Coryell was kind of saying, they wanted somebody who would kind of put Texas State back in the recruiting scene as far as high schools go. As you guys were out and about, across the state, did you sense it was kind of a challenge to kind of reintegrate Texas State back into that, or was it more of we've kind of missed you guys, right? As when you guys were scheduling these visits and kind of going to these campuses.
Yeah, it was definitely the second. It was like, man, we haven't seen you in a long time. We're so happy that you're here. Because every time you go to one of these schools, there's about 2 or 3 coaches that went to Texas State.
Sure.
So I think they were excited that we were in there. The same thing. They're hungry. Like, hey, this, how are we going to look this year? All that. They're excited. They're hungry for a winner, and it's been really cool to get in here and kind of represent Texas State and get around to these different high schools. And, how it is, like once I get into those schools and the coaches kind of get to know us and my staff, they're pulling for, coach, I'm going to send my guys, it's exciting for them. So, we just got to do it more often. We got to get in front of these high school coaches, get to these clinics and get them out to spring practice and recruit their kids and just really, develop those relationships and get when you recruit their kids and you show interest in them, they appreciate that. So we just got to continue to do that.
Coming up from the FCS level, we've seen a lot in FBS. We've seen a lot of success from that transition. What do you think kind of people learn at the FCS level, or what have you learned at the FCS level maybe that translates or benefits maybe something you didn't think about as you move up that you learned at FCS, things like that? I know sometimes the lack of resources kind of helps you kind of when you have them available be able to think of things differently. How do you think it's kind of helped you, and why do you think in general it's kind of been a model of success for some coaches?
Yeah, I think, you just kind of do more with less and you just find a way to get it done. You don't have a ton of different people doing different jobs. So, as a head coach, I was, going to study hall. I was checking grades. I was, making sure they were going to class. And it's almost kind of like being a high school coach. And for me, that's really, besides my NFL experience, that's really all I've known.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, my dad being a high school coach, I played for Jeff. I played for Chad Morris. I played for Todd Graham. I played for Bill Blankenship, Gus Malzahn. Like all those guys were tremendously successful high school coaches that transitioned to college and had a lot of success in college too. So that's kind of all I've known. Is I'm basically I'm the son of a high school coach, and that's what I am. So when I got to FCS, it to me it was kind of like being a high school coach. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty easy, to be honest with you. And we had a bunch of really good coaches and a bunch of really good players and kids and all that. But yeah, I think you just do more with less.
Eric Morris is the head coach at North Texas. You're the head coach at Texas State. What's in the water in Incarnate Word? Is it the Bombay Bicycle Shop? What's going on over there at Incarnate Word?
I think he did a great job recruiting and kind of getting that thing going. And then, I kind of came in there and we, went to the semifinals and won a bunch of ball games and scored a bunch of points. And I think Coach Killo over there, the guy they hired, Clint Killo's, he was our receiver coach and assistant head coach this past year, and another stud, man. He is. I mean, he's a great person, and Richard Duran's done a great job over there hiring the AD over there, hiring coaches, and they invest in people and do a good job in the hiring process. And so I'm excited to watch those guys continue to win.
They decided that you and Morris weren't young enough, so they had to go.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to go. They're gonna have a player coach soon over there.
It's like what was that? What's that movie? The Gridiron Gang?
Yeah, exactly.
All crew.
Exactly. When you get to Texas State and you take over this job, and you got, I would imagine, 15,000 things to do at one time. Kind of, what do you take the time on early to kind of, what's job number one? What's job number two? What are those things that when you're a head coach, you have to come in and really figure out right away before you can do anything else?
Yeah, for us, to be honest with you, it was recruiting. We got done with that North Dakota State game. The semifinal game, we got in at 5 a.m. and we had official visits starting at 9. So that was really when I got the job. That was the first thing, we were doing was recruiting our own players at Texas State, and then recruiting high school kids and kids from Texas that were in the portal. So that was kind of what we did first. And then I think it's, relationships with the guys on the roster. I think those are the two things that kind of we can control right now. And do like we just started doing football this week, to be honest with you. Like the football stuff, the X's and O's, like to me that's something that comes a little bit later. We got spring ball coming up, but to me it's the relationships and the foundation that you build and the strength and conditioning part is huge right now. The guys running and lifting, that's why we're not starting spring ball till after spring break, to just give those guys a couple more weeks to really get in there with Coach Youth and get bigger, stronger, faster, and kind of develop that culture that you want and develop the leaders and kind of which guys are going to step up and focus on your academics and all that, because we got to improve in all those areas. Me just getting here, we got to improve in all those areas.
How much do you think it will help that first year transition that so much of this coaching staff you're familiar with and so many of these transfers y'all have picked up are from UIW? Yeah. How much do you think that kind of helps you hit the ground running, and then how much do those players kind of help the other players? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it helps. For sure. We, especially those offensive linemen that we got here, it kind of helps me sleep better at night, to be perfectly honest with you, because they're really, really good, turning down some big time places and money and all that kind of good stuff to come here and play for us. And it kind of goes back to the relationship part of it, I think, so, I think getting those guys over here and they kind of know how we do things, and the coaching staff, I think I brought 7 guys and a couple off the field guys. So, They kind of know how I like to operate and kind of how we go about things and so that part's been it's been good. But then there's also some people that are here that I kept they're really good and really good people and really good support staff members, and I went and hired a couple coaches from outside UIW that I had some relationships with that are studs as well. So. It's been good so far. Obviously it's the honeymoon phase and you're undefeated and all that, but it's been great.
And then last question for me, for Texas State fans listening that didn't watch Incarnate Word, that maybe aren't as familiar with your style of play, when they show up in September and kind of see that first game, what do you think they should expect to see from a Texas State Bobcat team?
Yeah, I'll start on offense. We're a run play action team. We're going to be in our wide splits. We're going to go extremely fast. We're going to throw the ball downfield. We're going to take shots. But, I think it starts with the run game. We had a 1,500-yard rusher, and we're pretty balanced this year. But we're going to go fast. It's going to be an exciting brand of football. I mean, we averaged, almost 52 points per game last year. And so on offense, we're going to be really exciting. And on defense as well, we're going to blitz. We're going to create havoc. We're not just going to sit back and bend, not break, style. We're aggressive. We're going to blitz, create TFLs and create sacks and have a bunch of energy. I think we have a young staff. And so you come to practice, you come to a game, we're going to be dancing around and getting the guys ready to go. It's a violent sport. And so you got to bring energy and excitement. So, it's going to be an exciting time at Texas State. I keep on saying it. We're going to light up the scoreboard. I believe it. We really are. I came into UIW and told them we're going to have the number 1 offense in the country, and we did. And so when I get here, it's the same mentality. You know, we're going to light up that scoreboard. We're going to go extremely fast, and we're going to play hard.
Yeah, I guess the last one for me would be, you know, typically when a former OC comes into a head coaching job, everybody assumes, okay, they're going to call the play. It's going to be their offense. It's going to be kind of their, you know, everything's going to be a reflection of kind of their own strict philosophy. But you've kind of worked with Mac Leftwich now, and you know, first of all, as a head coach, you know, what kind of, because you obviously have your own beliefs and things like that, but what kind of, I guess, what goes into maybe saying, okay, I'm willing to delegate, you know, to this guy and somebody like Mac, who's really young, but also really now becoming really proven. What kind of gave you that kind of sense of security to kind of delegate to him? And is that kind of how you see yourself overall as maybe a overview head coach, as opposed to maybe a lot of some, I don't want to use that as pejorative, but maybe like a glorified coordinator, as some of these other guys, some of these other head coaches seem to be.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I got to UIW, that's all I was going to do. I was going to call the plays and run the kind of show. And you know, we're running what I want to on offense. And we got together with Mac and we kind of built what we wanted it to look like. And, you know, Mac's dad was my offensive line coach at Tulsa in 2010. So that background there, another coach's kid, and you know, a guy that I really trust and you know, really like, and we're very close, and so we do a lot of things together on offense, and you know, same thing on defense. You know, Coach Packey was his first time doing it last year on defense, and you know, he'd kind of been Manny Diaz's right hand guy for so many years and never got opportunity to call it, and I think both of those guys did a tremendous job and have bright futures.
Alrighty, well that'll do it for us, Coach. If you got nothing else for us, I mean, hit me up if you need any recommendations for food or anything, because I lived there for 7 years, so I got some.
For sure, I like that. Yeah, I need all the recommendations.
All right, first of all, hit up Herbert's. So that's gonna be my first recommendation.
Okay.
So
okay,
I'll ask for a post game report after you guys hit up there for a family meal.
All right, I like it, Herbert's. I'll definitely go there.
All right, sounds good. Take it easy, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks. All right, see you.